believe we're live.
Oh, we are. Well, it says going live as opposed to live.
It
There we
does.
go. We are live. Yeah, that's right. Hello, we're back. Hello. It's us once again with Ask a Double DM. And can I just say, first of all, we are going to try and make this a thing every single week. It might not always fall on a Friday, but we'll see.
We've not been that great historically. Hello, Ronnie.
Hello,
I hope
Ronnie.
You're doing well. And how's your house move going?
Fingers crossed for you.
That may have just triggered a stress reaction in Ronnie. Poor sod. House moves aren't great. They're very traumatic time.
I remember that when you helped me move out that one time.
That was nothing. You wait till you got mortgage paperwork involved
Yeah, okay,
and lawyers,
yeah.
and you don't know when you're moving, and then all of a sudden it's move this Sunday.
And of course, your miniatures.
I'm not looking forward to my next move. When I moved in to this house, I had very little. Like, I'd been renting places for years and years and years. This is the first house I bought.
You mean you didn't have any miniatures before?
None. I had no miniatures when I moved in this house.
You're like the goddess of miniatures.
And they're all from the last... How long have I lived here? 5 years?
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
I bought a dungeon.
The facade has been torn asunder.
I mean, I had an old box of really old minis, and I've still got a lot of that old broken stuff. A lot of it was my brother's when he was younger. But I saw these dungeons, and the ones I saw were the Dwarven Forge dungeons. And I thought, I'm going to get some of them, so I did. And I thought, right, now I need some decoration to, decorate them. And I found some treasure piles. I bought some of them, and I thought I'll get some crates, some barrels and things like that. And I thought, this needs to be more gothic. So I bought some more stuff, and then I thought, well, I need monsters now.
And how did you do this again? Clear post?
Yes, clear post, and then that shows the next one. Stressful, but thankfully Fiona has been an absolute rock. That's awesome. It does. Definitely sharing a house move makes it easier.
I think we've got some couple competition though.
Well, I hope it goes great for you, and I hope you like your new place.
Yes, but okay. What is our first topic then?
We should talk about Com+2 because the website has gone live. Yay! Yeah! I'm wearing the Com+1 t-shirt right now. The limited edition red. Very sexy. There's no merchandise yet for Com+2, but the website's up, and there's been a change. There's been many. It's a whole new website.
Well, yeah, it's not just like one change. The whole thing, and it looks a lot more sophisticated and a lot nicer. Not that it was not sophisticated to begin with.
It was never it wasn't aesthetically designed, no. and it still is. I'm not a designer. I'm a technical person. But yes, the new website's up. It's prettier. I'd like it to get prettier still, but give me time. It takes me a while to get there with aesthetics. But part of the new website launch is a new charity.
Yes, this is the big bit.
Yes,
because basically with BrigadeCon as well, before Com+, and with the first Com+, we have obviously been supporting Child's Play, which is all great and it's a great cause. But it actually happened during the convention itself last year, where we were sort of talking about it, and it's like, well, it's a great charity, but there are other charities that could use our help much more. And you've been talking with people at the Butterfly Project, you'd actually seen some of the absolute horrendous conditions they live in and have to live, work and learn in and stuff. And
so it was those two different things. So your Child's Play, they've raised $145 million now. They're a big charity. They're not going to miss us, the donation from this convention. So we felt that with the Butterfly Project we could make a genuine difference, because this is a very small charity.
Yeah, it felt like the right time to switch charities as well.
And what I really loved about the Butterfly Project is they're doing a lot more with RPGs. Child's Play didn't really do anything like they
did sort of video games, and
it was mostly games. It was actually created by the guy behind Extra Credits. Child's Play.
Yeah.
and who's a massive YouTuber in game design, recently had his own Me Too outing.
Okay, that went a bit dark.
Yeah, but the anyway, Child's Play will be fine. They do good work, but you know they're fine. This charity, we can make a real genuine difference, and they're doing a lot of stuff with RPGs and board games, and you can learn all about it on the website, which is conplus.live.
We're also going to be releasing a video, hopefully very soon, of your interview.
What with Ben?
With Ben, yes.
Probably
or are we saving
not.
that?
No, I'm gonna keep hold of it.
Okay.
What we can do though is we can show people the new Conplus 2 graphics.
Yes.
So we've got a new little intro ident video. It's not. Okay, there may have been some echoey sound there. I think I was supposed to mute the mic before I played it.
Yes.
Okay. There we go, we've got an outro video too. There's 2 this year, so we thought we'd mix it up a bit. So,
and of course we've gone for a lion as opposed to a dragon this year.
well, of course, because the Butterfly Project does most of its work in Uganda, and so I thought, well, we've got to, you know, we had the flaming dragon last year, and I thought, well, you know, let's have something that more symbolises, you know, the project itself. So I really should have gone for flaming butterfly, but
They're kind of hard to get unless you go down the butterfly effect.
well, I would have thought, like, if you set fire to a butterfly's wings, it's just going to drop out the sky, and you know, and die.
Yeah.
And I felt that felt a bit too terminal.
Oh, I never told you there was a gorgeous butterfly just like sunbathing on the garage. It was like quite a big one.
Yeah,
I took a picture. So
I look forward to seeing that.
it had, like pink circles and stuff, or pinkish.
Was it black wings?
No, it was kind of like the speckled orange, but hello kitty.
I think it is hunting toy mouses.
But there was sort of some more tinges in there. I think it was just a bit of a bigger butterfly.
Come on, kitty. Are you going to be on camera? Here she comes. Is she going to get on camera?
Come on, kitty.
You're
Come on.
confused by the lights and cameras.
Come on.
Come on, there
Hey. Look at this kitty. If you want to see more kitty, then subscribe.
we go. So yes, new charity. Lots of new stuff on the website, and amazingly, so the goal is to raise £5,000. So the charity has offices in Birmingham, so it's UK based. So they work in pounds rather than dollars.
Yes.
And the goal is to raise £5,000 over 2 years. So for the American amongst you, that's probably what, $6,500 ish.
Yeah, maybe 7 a push.
Yeah, that kind of region. But we've already got 10% of the way there. Over, in fact.
Yeah.
We have raised £561 already just by launching the website and letting our mailing list know. If you do want to subscribe to the mailing list for the convention, by the way, it's on. There's a sign up box on the homepage. You just have to scroll down a bit to find it. It's underneath that lovely donate box that you really want to click.
Yeah, thank you to all the people who've donated so far.
Now, just on the topic of the Butterfly Convention, Butterfly Project. They are running their own convention for board games in Uganda, and they're currently fundraising for that. So if you want to put a little donation in now, before Complus 2, you can use our website. It's absolutely fine. All the money goes it goes directly into their PayPal account. But if you don't want the website, it's tracked. And actually, the easiest way to do it is on our website. It's a lot easier than doing it via the Butterfly Project, because they're not e-commerce savvy and I am, so I made that easy. I've also made it quite easy to do a monthly subscription if you want to donate a couple of quid every month. Just saying.
Price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah, you do need to create an account on our website for that. I made that deliberate because I wanted people to be able to cancel the subscription as well and manage it and stuff.
That'll be a good segue into maybe a couple of tweaks we've changed, depending on compared to last year.
Are you thinking of the prize fighter?
No, I'm thinking more things like we're not asking for Facebook logins anymore.
Oh, I see.
Things like that. We've looked at your feedback and we've sort of tweak things a bit.
Yes, so the two big things that people said was the communication tools between GMs and players weren't great,
which we completely get.
Yeah, no, I accept it. It was thrown together. There was a lot of work to do. Corners were maybe cut a little too tight on that one. So yeah, we're going to improve that. We're going to do an all-new event system. The old one won't work at all because the old one was designed to only work around a 24-hour convention.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's not a 24-hour convention anymore. It's a 3-day convention.
Mm-hmm. The telethon, however, our bit where we stream live, that is still 24 hours.
We're not going to do 3 whole days. That's ridiculous.
But we probably will do a little bit on the first day and a little bit on the last day, and then we stream in the middle. For all 24 hours.
Bulk will be in the middle, and then obviously with Friday and Sunday, if say you can't make the Saturday for whatever reason, because people are busy, then you can join a game on Friday or do something on Sunday, and it's just way more relaxed.
So no excuses this year.
Yeah.
So we've already gotten rid of the Facebook login. You just create an account on the site now. There will be a bit where you will be able to, but you don't have to. You'll be able to tie your YouTube account in. But whereas last year we did a lot of work with when you created an event as a GM, and most of you won't have seen this, but if you created an event as a GM, it would actually set your YouTube videos up for you. But we're not making it a requirement to stream this year. We thought the best way for this convention to grow is to remove the streaming requirement, because streaming it's a niche thing.
Yeah, and there are plenty of people who are maybe not that confident with it, but then also there's the whole thing with Google Hangouts that's kind of fizzling out of existence, which is kind of making me panic a bit. But people like different things like Discord, Twitch. Some people still like YouTube. Some people just want to do a private hangout on Skype or something.
Yeah. So all of the restriction, linking it to YouTube, that's all gone. The reason we asked to link to YouTube, actually, we don't even ask for it. It's something you can do, but
if
that you can't actually do it yet.
But
that will relate to prize claim. It's not actually anything, because like on the YouTube stream, people can on the telethon is where you win all the prizes. Speaking of prizes, now the sponsors list on the website is provisional at the moment. We're still talking to sponsors, and that will get busy throughout the year.
That's early days, yeah.
But we have just received through the post our first physical prize.
We have.
And I think I should go get it.
Okay.
All right. So you okay to talk for a moment?
Yes.
I will go find a box.
In the meantime, I will quickly fill them in about the prize fighter. So we are also changing how people get to claim prizes. I won't do it in loads of detail, but basically we've got a little thing in the works. Rather than just sort of rolling a couple of dice and doing sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 in the chat, which that was before, we've got something really awesome lined up in the form of kind of like a gladiatorial fight, which Becky has been making up. That's all I'm going to say about it, though, because you kind of have to see it to believe it.
You do, and we're not going to be showing that today. And it isn't actually, in fairness, it isn't quite finished. I just realised that I've kind of messed up that we've got a line down. I need to fix that. I'll do that in a moment. But there is. I do want to say why we've changed that. You see, for the stream, I need to just move this box out.
Well, firstly, it's really cool.
It is cool. It's a cool thing in itself. I mean,
makes it more exciting.
I actually can't fix that without the keyboard. The keyboard's all the way over there. The reason why, for the stream to work, what we need as people streaming to get it to most people is lots of interaction. And the whole thing with the dice roller of getting people to type the number 1 to 5 was great for getting people interacting with the stream. It helped promote it. But it was bad in that it would kill a conversation that was ongoing if people were talking about stuff. So we wanted to get rid of the people typing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but still encourage people to take part in the chat, and that's what the prize fighter system does.
Yes.
It's really, as long as you're active in the chat, you have a chance of winning prizes.
There's lots of really cool features and yada yada yada, which we will reveal more of a bit later. Yeah. But for now, shall we get that box opened?
I need somebody to just press that Alt key.
The Alt key.
And then I can just drag that in, and that should fix it. And then we can just get the next question up.
Hooray.
Hello, Marshall. Welcome back.
Hello,
Welcome
Marshall
back.
Monks.
So, any questions, please feel free to ask them. But before we talk about that, what I'm going to do for a moment, I'm just going to cut away to Pod Graphics. The reason being is I just want to get the chat off the screen for a moment.
Yeah.
And that's, believe it or not, the best way to do it. This is one of our main prizes. That's come through the post. It's on the screen.
I know, but my head is covered up by this giant prize.
So is mine. Look at that. That's the Reaper Bones Maldrakar, the Dragon Tyrant. This is a huge 5-headed dragon. It stands a foot tall. I actually have one myself. I love this thing.
Yes, and it's taking up so much space in our house.
No, it actually doesn't, because once it's assembled, it
it's all right. It's quite.
You know
tall,
what? I'm gonna have to go and get it now. But
no, because.
Okay. So this is.
But
so,
it's
yes,
on the back of there anyway.
You can see what it looks like here.
Yeah.
So this is because Reaper Miniatures are sponsoring us this year.
Mm-hmm.
They did a wonderful thing for us last year, because they weren't an official convention sponsor.
No.
But 2 weeks before the convention last year is when I first discovered the Butterfly Project, and I spoke to some of the kids out there, and after doing that, one of the things the kids says that the kids said they needed and didn't have was miniatures, and they also didn't have, they wanted more modules and more bestiaries. So I spoke to our friends at Paizo, and I spoke to Kit at Reaper Miniatures, and threw in a few things myself and sent them an aid package of RPG goodies. So I spoke to Kid again this year, and he was like, "Yeah, I totally want to back this." And I said, is there any chance we could get Maldrakar? And failing that, I've maybe got this other idea about putting, some of the smaller miniatures in. And you know what he said?
He said all of them.
He said he'll do Maldrakar and the smaller miniatures that I suggested. But also, one of his personal favourite kits was Dragons Don't Share.
Yeah, I really like this one actually.
So if I show you the back, because then you can
Has
see
it got the terrain and smaller minis in there?
But yeah, the smaller minis. Look, they're
lovely.
they're all right here. I believe the terrain is part of it too. I think that's underneath the
that makes
stuff
sense.
here. Right. I'm not going to open.
But yeah,
it
you
to
basically
double-check.
got an awesome dragon with, is it 5 adventurers there?
I believe it is. It's five
like
adventurers.
a whole party.
And you get this sort of ruined temple type
Tower thing, yeah.
I would say, what do they call it in Skyrim with those circular grave entrances?
Oh god, I don't know.
Kind of reminds me of that.
A cairn is like a Celtic grave, yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of reminds me of that, this scenery piece. So,
I suppose so. It looks more like a sort of a tower to me. Or
it could be a ruined tower, yeah. One of the two.
Basically, it's ambiguous, but it doesn't matter because it's really nice.
That's not the only thing we've got from Reaper, though.
No.
So they've sent us a load of little minis as well, and there's some more stuff that we've not even received yet.
Yeah.
That will be coming. So it's just great to have them on board as a proper sponsor this year.
But also in particular, this year is going to have a significant focus compared to last year on miniatures, because that we've got way more sponsors this year for minis.
We had confirmation today that Atlantis Miniatures are on board. That's not actually been announced on the website yet. I've just got the email before the stream.
And we've got potentially a few other things cooking up for specific sort of miniature type things during the convention.
I know a few of them. So D&B Games have confirmed they are going to be providing 3 resin dungeon sets. Like actual resin dungeons, plus accessory decor sets.
Oh, so like little cauldrons or mats or something you can put in there?
Yeah, miniatures to go to decorate the dungeon, like dungeon decor. Again, all resin. And one of my favourite miniature shops, I said earlier, and I bought the Dwarven Forge dungeon, and then I found these treasure piles, and I bought them.
Yes.
Those treasure piles are from a shop called Thomarillion. run by my who's become now a friend of mine, Tommy, because I spent so much money with him. And so he's backing us this year as well. So we've actually got vouchers, so you can just pick what you want from his site to buy it, and he has some amazing stuff. So yeah, that's I think at the moment that's all the confirmed miniature stuff we have.
Yeah.
But there are other people that have already confirmed. I'm not going to remember everything off the top of my head, but
No, we don't have to list everything.
Pinnacle Entertainment are back.
Yeah. Heroic Maps are back.
Heroic Maps, yeah. Who else confirmed in the last few days? There's been a few. Sorry, I can't remember them all.
You kept more of an eye on me. But anyway, if you really want to find out, go and check the website.
Yeah, they're all on there, apart from Atlantis Miniatures, who confirmed literally just before we started this stream. So I haven't put that on there yet. Right, let's see if we've had more chat. Hello. And our favourite dragon avatar viewer.
That's not a dragon. That's a griffin.
It is. It's a distance away. The screen is actually quite a long way away, guys.
Get your eyes tested then.
No, I know that I need new glasses.
See, we're all rooting for you, only with the move.
We haven't put the chat up on screen. That was foolish of us. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, and the sponsor list at the moment. Obviously, at the moment, it's smaller than last year because we've literally just started. But we have had so many new people coming on board, and we're starting to hear back from the existing sponsors as well.
Yeah,
and
we got a good load at Dragon Meet, and then obviously there's been this gap, but then we've got the expo coming up as well.
Yeah, and you can pretty much expect us to recruit everyone who's there.
Everybody.
Everyone RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I do like a few sort of accessory type sponsors as well, if possible. Yeah.
Do we know if Bill's coming back? Is he confirmed? Because you were speaking to him.
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Don't know.
But yeah, we had some accessory bits last year, and I think we'll get.
Accessories are nice.
Yeah, because the Wormwood prize last year was absolutely beautiful. There's a Purple Heart dice vault that you keep your poly set of dice in. That was a lovely prize.
Yes. Yes, it was.
How many sponsors are lined up for Complus so far?
I haven't counted.
Off the top of my head, I think we've got about a dozen confirmed. Of that, only about half we know the prizes we're getting. So the talking to sponsors takes quite a long time to confirm all of the details, because like there'll be a whole email chain by the time you've kind of confirmed everything, and obviously because you're blagging free things, you're not the highest priority email. So but I have a feeling last year we broke the record, didn't we? We had 40.
We broke, like,
we smashed it. It was over double, I think, the record. I have a feeling this year will be approaching 60. That's my I want to hit 65.
Thank you, Kitty.
That's my goal.
She brought us a toy mouse.
Oh yes, she has. She's been hunting toy mouses. So yeah, that's my goal. I think 65. I would be delighted with. But we shall see. It's obviously it's early stages at the moment. Yeah. But I think you'll see big movement around June, July time.
Sometimes as well, sponsors can be quite spontaneous.
They can?
Yeah. So, like, obviously you sort of cast your net out and whatever, but sometimes you only just hear about a sponsor quite late on, or we start talking quite sort of late, and they're like, oh, yeah, I can do this and whatever. So,
yeah.
It's something that builds up all the way through until, obviously, the convention happens, so...
Right, let's see what the next question is.
Some serious minis.
We have to be careful on the postage costs, because for those curious, last year I paid all the postage, and I was happy to do that, but it was actually quite expensive and a little bit more than I thought. What I did is I took basically the advertising revenue that POG generates. I had never taken it out of YouTube. I just let it accumulate. And the only reason we ever did advertising was because when we switched it on as an experiment, we noticed YouTube increased our views 30% overnight. So YouTube obviously wants to promote videos where they make money.
Mm-hmm.
So we left the advertising on. I never took the money out. So last year, the POG adverts paid for most of the postage, about 3/4 of it, and then I topped it up. But we can't do that next year because not enough advertising money. That was several years worth of ads, with some viral videos in there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we'll be all right.
We'll be all right. This year, the charity have actually agreed to pay the postage out of the donations.
Yeah.
However, I want to avoid. I don't think I'll be able to avoid it totally, but I want to. I will probably put like half in or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll share the load. And that's how it works. So if you want to help us to do the postage, please back our Patreon because that money is really important. That's what it goes towards. So let's see what we got. So Marshall Monk says, as a DM, how do you tackle a player that is a bit of a showboater, i.e. actively taking away the attention from your other players by making the narrative solely about themselves? Now this is something I've had to face.
Yes. Yes, it is. I can think of at least a couple of people.
Yeah, I mean, there was one group I was playing in where there were 2 spotlight whores in the group, and you know, and I think when I was younger, I think I was a little bit of a spotlight whore, and I think the only thing that really saved me was the fact that I was in a group with so many other spotlight whores. But of course, it means the oh God, what's the term for the person, the opposite?
Wallflower?
Yes, the wallflowers of the group, of course, then consequently suffer. As a GM, I think there's a couple of approaches you can use. So the first is that you've got to make sure you direct the attention to people who haven't done anything in a while. So when your person who's taking all the spotlight is doing their thing, you've then just got to say, okay, that's great. What I want to do now is I want to cut the action away from that just because player X hasn't had much time at the table yet. And then I'll turn to player X. And by expressing that is like, look, I'm not stopping your plot line. I'm just going to cut away and come back to it because this player deserves some attention. And by stating that, it will have an effect. Now, people who like to hog the spotlight will generally be okay for a few minutes after that, but then of course it will start to creep back in. So you might need to reiterate as you go to player Y. You know, it depends how many wallflowers you got in your group. So there's that. But sometimes actually, well, I mean, it got to the point for me. I actually had designed a system that does spotlight control, but it's not D&D. You know, it's a completely different system, which of course means the players never want to play it. But sometimes changing the tool set.
I was going to say you haven't published it yet, so no one's seen it.
I haven't published it, but my own players never want to play it.
I want to play it.
It's a good system. But yes, coming up with mechanical means of controlling spotlight is useful. Now, short of implementing a new system, what you can do is see, people who control the spotlight, in my experience, tend to also be a little bit alpha gaming. The two things generally go hand in hand. I think you can have an alpha gamer who isn't a spotlight whore, but I don't think there's many people who steal the spotlight who aren't also power gamery. And the power gamers want to win. So if it's in their interest for somebody else to be in the limelight, that will actually help them yield the limelight. And you can do that with inspiration, and by making inspiration more than, in D&D you've got a limit of 1 inspiration. If you were to have like 3 or 4 inspirational or hero points on a character, and let's say those hero points give +2 to a roll or something, and you gave 4 to every player, when it comes to that crunch moment and that alpha gamer has already used all their hero points, they'd be much more likely to be pushing the wallflower forward to go and do that roll, because they've still got the hero points, they can get the +2. And I know D&D doesn't really do pluses and minuses on rolls, but it might be something that
It does sometimes.
Well, it has your stat bonus and so on, but it doesn't really. It's not sort of in the mechanic that you add situational modifiers. A +2,
No, I suppose it's
-2,
not like Corporation, is it?
Yeah, they got rid of all of that in 5th edition. But that actually means it's easier to then say, okay, here are tokens. These tokens are worth +2 to your dice roll. Have 4 each. Then when the alpha gamers spent all theirs, they might well push the wallflower forward to do something just because they've still got those 4 +2s.
But also from a role-playing point of view, I think, because one thing that I've noticed is even if you deliberately hand the spotlight to the wallflower, or even just say, okay, so-and-so, what are you doing? Sometimes that actually freaks them out a bit because they feel put on the spot. So I think that there are a couple of things you can do. With D&D 5e, obviously there's the sort of the role-playing aspects with the traits and things you could use, or maybe encourage the wallflower to interact with, say, 1 or 2 other players if they're together, for example. So more kind of like team building rather than just, player to GM.
Yeah, I mean,
so as you mentioned, in a role-playing aspect with, the alpha gamer, say the alpha gamer was with the wallflower in character, if they both have to do something but they've only got certain skills each, that's kind of an opportunity for the alpha gamer to kind of give some spotlight back to the wallflower.
Yeah, but I think what often happens is the alpha gamer, if they're kind of paired up like that with the wallflower, they'll quite often sort of tell the wallflower what to do.
Yeah,
sort of
sometimes,
almost play the wallflower. And I do remember an encounter actually where I was paired with a wallflower. In this particular encounter, our characters had gone off together, and I'd already had a lot of spotlight time in the session, and so I let the other player go first. It's something I will actually say as a player is, look, you haven't had much spotlight time in this game. Do you want to step up and take this scene? And I will actually just say that outright and let another player come forward. But on this occasion, the GM kind of closed that character down because of who my character was, and I kind of understood it made sense in the narrative that my character would have had the interactions with that NPC, but at the same time I kind of like, it doesn't matter, let them play it. And but I didn't. I kind of just went with what the GM did, and I always regretted that.
Well, I suppose it's a balance between, what would that character do versus, metagame, because in the end it is a game.
It is, but and it's a game, and you want everybody at the table to have fun, and
Yes.
But I do remember there was this different group. There was this wallflower once that was a friend had come along. He only did 3 or 4 sessions with us, and every time the GM turned to this guy and said, "What do you do?" He couldn't decide. And I think he was partly nervous because obviously it was my house that he was in. He didn't know me. He didn't know one of the other players at the table. He only knew the GM who'd invited him along. And he always couldn't decide. So the GM would suggest ideas, and several of them, often 2 or 3 ideas, and he still couldn't decide. So I tried chipping in a few suggestions. I still couldn't decide. So I was that nervous. So really was the most extreme wallflower I'd ever seen. And there comes a point where you've got to make a decision. At the end of the day, you're either playing the game or you're watching. I think he really just wanted to watch. and so you're right. You can put too much pressure on a wallflower. But that's kind of not the question. The question is really about the other aspect of this, of course.
Yeah. But I think it's important to bear in mind. Okay, yes, the alpha gamer is sort of causing the spotlight to fall on them, but you can still help the wallflower through various means.
By trying to lift them up.
Yeah, rather than put the alpha gamer down all the time necessarily.
Let's move on. I think I misclicked it, didn't. There we go. Ronnie says, Marshall, I tend to go with the simple approach. I take the time to focus player to player and just give them the time and let the showboater realise that they aren't the be-all and end-all. Yeah, I mean, as the GM, ultimately you can move your focus.
Yeah.
But, there are players that make that difficult.
I would honestly say with an alpha gamer, though, if you just kind of turn your focus away from them for longer than they like, then they might kind of then come back.
Yeah, they get irritable. And I've seen it, and where they begin upsetting everybody.
Yeah,
with their strong opinions. Lord Mobius, with so many different sponsors with minis, will Becky be doing any miniature painting demos or tips during the convention stream? Well, you know what? I do have that 45-minute painting tutorial on how to paint minis like me. That might well air during breakfast. But
as I mentioned earlier, we've got some ideas in the works for something of that nature.
Yeah,
during the convention.
I think we can reveal a little bit. I mean, this isn't been fully planned. It's still in the ideas forming stage.
Yeah, but basically we've been talking to the miniature and crafting community, if you will. So they do a lot of like streaming and painting miniatures and stuff. And we kind of we want them to do their own event.
Yeah, so we were thinking of some kind of diorama competition or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That will be judged during the telethon and be a prize for it and stuff. But it's at planning stages at the moment, so we'll see what comes of that.
That'd be really cool,
though.
We need to fix Tabletop Simulator then for him.
Yeah, you'll have to get that working. Jason needs to finish his game. Then we need to do Phil's. Then you can do AFA. If I don't decide to run D&D,
unless Phil happens to run in AFA.
Oh, that would be unfair. The GM has to at least be aware of the system they're going to run in.
I know.
And unless we end up doing cooperation when it's my turn to GM. Who knows? Too many good games in the world. Will this year's con be using the last of Google Hangouts, or will be breaching out to experimenting with Skype, Discord, or other platforms? I think part of the move away from forcing people to stream. So now GMs don't, they can use whatever tools they want.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past we were kind of locked to Hangouts because of streaming. Now it's not important, so I don't think it's really relevant now to the convention because there'll be all sorts of things being used.
Yeah.
So I'm less panicky about Google Hangouts going.
Yeah, and those people who know how to stream from any platform can still do that, but if you don't know or don't want to, then you've got the choice.
Yep. Next question. Ronnie says hero points. Bennies. Yeah,
Savage
same thing. Yeah, and I've heard them called other things. Talking about hero points,
fortune points, Warhammer.
Yeah, I just want to get this out because I swear this character should have them.
Shall I hold it up to the camera?
So these things have been doing the rounds lately. I don't know if you've seen them at all. These new
I was going to hold it up
sheets.
proper close-up so they could see.
I just want to read the designer's name. So this is by a guy called El Tesoro del Dragon. And if we just play the graphics, we can maybe just get rid of the chat for just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do the Comp Plus graphic. So there we go. So these are new character sheets. They're massively popular at the moment. the guy who's making them does them for about $2.50.
That's so cheap.
Yeah, and I noticed this this second page that's got the equipment on. At the very bottom, there's this thing for hero points. So,
There.
yeah. And I remember at the time I was looking at that and I thought, that's
Ew.
not a 5e thing, is it?
What is this?
Maybe that was on the back of my mind when I was answering your question earlier, because
I think it was.
Maybe it was. Maybe that's what planted the seed.
Because there is an inspiration thing as well somewhere, isn't there?
That's on page 1.
Yeah.
You've got an inspiration box. What I like about this, though, is it does something that I've always done with my character sheets. So, encumbrance. I know we said we were going to talk about certain things before, and I want to talk about encumbrance. Because I've wanted to make a video for ages and I've never gotten around to filming it, which is how I handle encumbrance on my characters. And it's very simple. I simply say what I'm holding and where. Where is this thing? And when it comes to my list of equipment, I will say that in the main compartment of my backpack is this, in the side pocket is this. And you soon realise you've got too much in that side pocket, that won't fit.
Corporation's got a lovely simple little cross section of that.
Yeah. But what I like about these character sheets is on the equipment section, those little bits of equipment, they all point to different bits of armour.
Yeah.
And you've got your ring, you've got your shield, you've got your left arm, right arm, and so on.
There's lots of sort of like video game RPGs that do that as well. So I'm a bit puzzled as to why D&D doesn't really do that.
Well,
It's a nice
the thing
reference.
is, that's what you're wearing, but I kind of take it to where things are on my backpack as well.
Exactly.
Like when I do my inventory, I'll actually write in a bedroll tied to outside.
Yeah.
Top or bottom or whatever. And then, when it starts to look like there's too much in there, then there's too much in there. And that's how I do inventory. And that sheet takes you... It doesn't document where on the backpack, but it does at least give you a sort of MMO-style equipment layout.
Yes, we need to get the chat back up.
We do. And it's back up.
Yes.
Ba-da-dum. Lord Mobby says, will Compass Plus 2 be strictly role-playing games, or will card games, board games, or other gaming platforms be added? Well, at Com Plus 1 we did have a card game.
We did. We had a tournament card game.
Yes. I don't remember the name of it.
It was Deadlands.
Deadlands, thank you. So that was at Com Plus 1. I would love to do more board gaming on Com Plus 2.
Yeah.
I think we need to be careful with it this year. Mainly because postage costs.
Yes.
If we start giving away loads of board game prizes, it would be fantastic to do a board game convention and start promoting in those spaces and then have thousands and thousands of people attending and raising lots of money. But we need to be mindful of the fact that at the moment we can't afford to post those prizes. We need to do this year. We've introduced minis to some degree, and we can't take that too. If we take that too far, we could be in trouble.
Yes.
So,
but in terms of actually playing those things,
play what you like. We're open to anything and everything. I know. When we first started planning this year, I was really keen to introduce board games, but that kind of also means giving board game prizes. If you want board game people to attend, we have to get board game sponsors. That means giving away board game prizes, and the scary part about that was postage. Yeah. So minis this year is like our first step towards doing bigger things with postage, and we'll see how that goes. It's this year we're actually going to be able to offset some of the cost, so it'll help. But our Patreon is still tiny and it doesn't cover the postage, and so we need to grow our channel, which means we need to stream this. We need to do this every week,
and that's what we're doing.
Build the audience.
That's what we're gonna do.
So because that's how it's the only way it's going to happen, and then we can move on to board games. Ronnie says, I've had that where I had an alpha gamer telling a wallflower what to do. Was his girlfriend. Didn't end well.
Sounds awkward.
Yeah. Moving on. Alpha gamers need to play with other alpha gamers, where the players will tell each other to get stuffed and make decisions for their own characters. There's a lot to be said for that. You've got to play in a group that's right for your style of play.
Mm-hmm.
As I've always said, the biggest problem with power gamers in particular is people who like not so much power gamers, but the dice roll type player, the simulationist, the tactical combat type person. I don't mind doing that, but those kind of players don't actually mix very well with narrative players. And the problem is the simulationist player doesn't really notice it. It's the narrative player that notices it. They're the ones that get less of an experience, because the narrative player will be decorating and describing the things they do, possibly even getting penalties from the GM because of describing some disadvantage, just because it seems like a good way of describing it. Whereas the simulationist will just go, I roll for perception, and is therefore a detriment narratively speaking. Whereas the narrative player doesn't notice the detriment. So they don't mix well. So yeah, it's important to find the right group for what you want to do, and that can be difficult because quite often you just take any group you can find, don't you, and just roll with it.
But hey,
Marshall Monk says, if I were to make a tabletop starter kit for new players at my table, what are the must-haves?
Cheetos and Mountain Dew.
No to both of those things. Replace the Cheetos with nachos.
You mean nachos made by me?
Well, I love the way you make nachos. I happen to make them the same way.
Yeah, but I put them in layers.
Yes, I've always done that too, dear.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is, when I put a plate of my nachos in front of you, it's disappeared in like 2 minutes.
You put anything in front of me, it disappears quickly. The only reason is...
Apart
You know what
from
he did
fish.
to me? Just before this stream. He put these cakes in front of me. I can't eat them because I'm on the stream.
Well, you're eating them now.
Yeah, but I can't exactly...
Okay, so I think it's good to have a mixture. So obviously you've got you play handbooks if you want to go down the sort of starter set type route. I think some kind of icebreaker thing. What are you shaking your head at?
I don't think... player handbook's great for character gen. Have a few around. But in terms of a starter kit for people at the table, what do you really need? What you need is a bit of paper, pencil, and a set of dice.
I was getting there.
You don't really need anything else. But...
No, I was going to think of a whole kind of kit. So you've got some other sort of accessory type things in there for them. Placemats are good. I do those at conventions if I run them at conventions. So you've got placemats of the characters and usually a symbol with them.
Here's something I put out. So every one of my players gets a coin bag.
Mm-hmm.
And in their coin bags, this is from a real campaign we're playing at the moment, they've got some of my notes that I will have handed out, or no, these are rumour notes.
Yes.
So one of the things I do is I get players to write positive and negative rumours about themselves. It came from a guy on Twitter. I believe he's called the Pink GM or something.
Oh,
He's a guy, but it's called...
Well, there is somebody called the Pink GM, yeah.
Something like that. So one of the players, Lavinia, has a negative rumour here. I have attempted to poison my brother. I don't know whose bag this is.
It's not mine. You're spoiling it for me.
Shutting up now. It's just a rumour. And then there's money. Now, I have fantasy coins that I use. I've got fantasy coins from several different sources. A lot of them campaign coins. We need to get them as a sponsor.
Yes, we do.
Alright, I'll have a word. I'm trying to remember the guy's name because I used to get on quite well with those guys. So
that is my character sheet, however. With the awesome dragon.
Well, there's several. Oh yes, the one with the kobold.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, dragonborn.
Cobalt. He's a friggin' is he a sorcerer or wizard? I can't remember what I chose.
I believe he's a wizard.
Oh yeah, I did decide to play wizard. The reason being because I have never ever played a wizard in D&D. and I've decided that I still prefer playing every other type of magic class, except I haven't played Warlock yet, but I do prefer Sorcerer.
Warlock's very limited in what they can do.
Okay.
Eldritch Blast.
Oh, God.
That's basically it.
Yeah, even I know about Eldritch Blast. Like, Jesus.
Are there any nifty dice sets being donated for Complex 2 yet?
I'm assuming that Kakapopo are backing us again.
Haven't heard from them yet.
No,
I did send them an email a couple of days ago, so hopefully Sam will get back to us soon. I might need to follow that up.
But I'm racking my brains because there were a few people who said at the end of the con, oh yeah, we'll definitely come next year, so maybe I need to go back and look at those. And I think he was one of them.
Okay. I know he was like one of the most enthusiastic people ever, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was a great guy.
But dice sets, they're quite difficult because normally they're these very big companies, and we had a couple that just said no, we don't do charity things.
Yeah, like a lot of the big names in dice, they're really. Well, I won't link any names to things that they've said, but basically, a lot of the big companies in the realm of dice just aren't interested. But there are smaller firms, and actually, to be honest, why would we give away a set of 7 very standard poly dice?
Yeah, yawn.
It's much better, I think, to give away more nuance and different things. And one of the things about the oh, that's right. We can fix that. I just need to do the login thing again.
But anyway, we want to.
Fixed it.
We want to support smaller businesses anyway.
We do, but also they do more interesting dice.
Yes.
They're doing the niche things. The Kakapopo TCG dice were these absolutely huge metal dice. Incidentally, he said he was going to send me a set. I need to follow that up because I haven't got the set. And we have replaced the glass table with a wooden one now. So that can happen. So yeah, hopefully they'll be back, and hopefully we'll get many more sponsors yet. So yeah. Any truth that Medusa is actually a Flerken, as in a Flerken, as in the Captain Marvel? I haven't seen Captain Marvel movie yet.
Me neither. I heard it made a lot of white men annoyed.
Fuck 'em.
Yes, obviously, but
lots of truth, I would imagine. Do they hiss? If the answer's yes, I think you now know the truth. Cheetos and nachos tend to lead to yellowed character sheets and rulebook pages. Look, Cheetos, no to Cheetos. It's nachos.
Cheetos just tastes like cardboard anyway.
And
Mountain Dew is disgusting.
Mountain Dew, no. Well, to be honest, it's barely even a thing over here anyway. I think it's seems much bigger.
It's a very
in America.
very American thing.
I'd rather have beer.
Yes.
Sometimes gin. Depends on the weather. Right. Yes, campaign coins as a sponsor would be great.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it would, and I need to ask that question of them, really, don't I? I need to give them the opportunity. I'm just trying to get the next question up. Oh, it's right. We're caught up. So, other topics, because we've spoken a lot about Complus 2.
Yes.
You had another topic you wanted to raise, and I had a topic I wanted to raise.
Yeah, because we started off this stream again, and quite often you tend to start a campaign in a tavern. So let's talk about taverns.
Well, I did an Encounter Ideas video on taverns already. Quite a long time ago now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was a miniatures video, and I don't do them very often anymore. But it is a great one. I think it's had like 8,000 views or something. Because it is a cliche, isn't it? Starting off with the tall, dark stranger in the tavern.
Yeah. To give you the quest and what have you, or the MacGuffin, or etc. etc. But yeah, I think taverns can still be quite exciting places, and especially I find in fantasy settings, a lot less so in sci-fi, interestingly, in my experience. But in fantasy, if you've just done quite a big story arc and you've been on the road for a while, almost every single time the players, at least one of them, are going to say, let's go to a tavern. It's almost like this sort of safe place where they know they're going to get some rest and heal up and stuff.
I remember, now one of the reasons for that is a tavern is a place you can get a room overnight, and you're safe, you're in a building and stuff.
Yeah.
You're in civilization. One of the things Lindy Beige mentioned on a video a little while ago now, which I thought was very interesting, is that historically, and as everyone who watches our channel knows, I like to pull from history and pull ideas from history. Historically, when you were travelling from one place to another in this country and in Western Europe, it's not necessarily taverns you'd spend the night at, because there's an old rule in the Christian Bible that says you give shelter to travellers, to people who need it and stuff. And people used to take advantage of monks all the time, to the extent that monasteries would actually build a dormitory for travellers, because people would stop there that often that they just built a dormitory for the people who stopping there to stay in. And that was common throughout Western Europe for hundreds of years. So it isn't like if you're running a game, you don't have to have the tavern as the safe place to go. You could make it temples or another kind of civic building.
I absolutely agree, temples, because there's still the opportunity to get food and lodgings, but then there's also the kind of the spiritual element, which not every character will like, but it very much sort of screams healing to me in that sort of objective sense, whereas the tavern...
Yeah, we often associate temples with healing, but don't forget, in a world of like D&D, not every temple is dedicated to a god that heals.
But you get what I mean. There's that kind of that sanctuary, that safe place.
Yeah. So if you picture a world like D&D, where it's quite common for people, let's say we take that little bit of nugget from history and we say it's quite common for people to stay at temples overnight to sleep. But as you get to different areas away from your home city, what if the gods that people are worshipping are different? And whereas you stay in a temple in your own kingdom, as it were, and you can expect healing and sanctuary and safety, you're in a neighbouring, far country away from where you're born, and around here it's a god of war, or it's a god of snakes, and you're like, is it even safe to stay here? And maybe it is, but there's strange customs and rituals, and you can start bringing in intrigue, and maybe it's a god of war, and instead of healing is a blinking cage fight. And you're kind of expected to compete. There's all sorts of things I think you can do with that in D&D, which you couldn't with history. So I think that's one worth exploring.
Yes, but having said that, if you are going to stick to taverns because maybe you're more familiar with them, or that's what the players want to do, I think it's still great to flesh it out, because it could be a recurring location. For example, there could be characters doing their own thing and then something happens. One thing I actually quite like doing is making a tavern unsafe at times. Give it that urgency. Maybe in the night something's happened, or there's something going on that the players don't know about, that the barkeeper's having to sort out, and then shit hits the fan type thing.
I'm just trying to remember the Return of the Winged Trinity campaign. I started that in the tavern for cliché's sake, and I blew it up in the very first episode.
Yes.
There was no stranger coming in giving a plot dump.
I wasn't thinking quite over the top as that, but taverns are dynamic. There are people coming and going, staying, eating, getting drunk, whatever, and there is that sort of fluidity. And I think even more so in sci-fi, sort of bars, because you get people from all, corners of the known verse.
Think about what gives a tavern its character. I think it's two things. What's on the walls.
Yes.
And the regulars.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't know what those two things are, then when you're describing your tavern to your players, you're probably not describing a tavern.
No. I don't go with walls specifically, but I definitely like to give my tavern some kind of traits. Firstly, in what it's like. So, is it quite well to do? Is it pretty shabby? What kind of food do they serve? What kind of prices are they? And that's from those sort of starting points. That's where the character starts spilling in.
But that you did kind of touch on it there. You know, is it expensive or is it run down type thing? And I think that's important. Like, if you can think what is on the wall in this tavern, you know, is it posh? Is it a fancy design? Does it have wallpaper? Or, you know, is the floor sawdust? Is there a plough on the wall, you know, that's been nailed to the side of the tavern? Or is there some quote about drinking? That's where your character of the pub comes from, and these are all just things that are in real pubs, you know.
Yeah, food can be quite good as well to use. I tend to think of maybe 1 or 2 regular type meals. So is it just going to be your broth, or is it going to be maybe some nice fish or that kind of thing? Because then you can use that as a basis for, okay, how do they get the fish in? Is it quite a big, you know, sort of commerce coming in? You know, could there be a story arc in there? Is there a shortage? You know, something like that.
Now, when it comes to actually getting your quest, though, there's obviously the trope is the tall dark stranger or the hooded stranger or something like that. But shouldn't it come from the locals? Because the locals will be the ones that know what's different.
I love the idea of some ongoing problem, and the only way you find out is by just hearing the locals down the pub ranting about it.
Especially if those are characters you're already introduced to. You've trapped me with cake.
But also in a tavern, because drinking and stuff, people, NPCs, should be more likely to be more vocal about things. You're not just going to have somebody sitting there waiting for you to come up to them and give you a quest.
Maybe it's not the stranger, the hooded stranger that comes up to you. Maybe it's that you overhear one of the locals who's drunk shouting and ranting at the bar.
Because they've served a dwarf again, for example.
Or the stupid people can't agree how to exit the common market.
That too. But yeah, I suppose you could have maybe a couple of posters on the wall of you know, jobs.
But the walls for me, it's about the decor and ambience of the pub.
Yeah, okay, fine. Maybe like a signage then outside or something, as an example.
I think I've said this before, but I've always wanted to run an adventurers guild, like an actual guild building you go to for adventurers. I think it'd be a weird and crazy thing.
I also like taverns that aren't just taverns. So I think one of my favourite ever taverns I've made is that kind of fishery place in Mavira, which had the betting ring underneath it.
I think I remember that, yeah.
So they only specialised in fish. There was lots of like characteristics of like shells and nets and all kinds of stuff. There was a sort of an aroma, quite an unusual thing, because normally you get sort of meat and grog, don't you? And then there was the whole thing of, okay, the staff sort of knew what was going on. You kind of had to find out how to get down there, and oh look, there's some big cheese who's betting, trying to assassinate them and stuff. So there's that sort of two tiers really. There's like investigation whilst also being able to recuperate a bit.
Secret gambling room.
Yes, it was a secret gambling room.
Okay.
That's one example. And I think, like, you do get the tropey, like, oh, can you clear out the rats in the cellar for me? It was kind of like that, but obviously more complex.
Let's see what people have said. I haven't come across that trope since Daggerfall.
I haven't come across it since South Park, because they deliberately put it in.
Right, Ronnie says, I'm running a game, two sessions so far. No combat as such, but because it is a real game of diplomacy and negotiation, I think it's good to get people away from the kill and kill again mentality. You know, it is, and it comes down to what you want from your game.
Yeah.
Different people want different things. Some people swear adamantly of putting a fight in every adventure or every session, and you know, I won't knock them for it. If it works for them, then great. I do think the best sessions are the ones that go by and you realise you've barely rolled a dice. But that is something that you only kind of notice in retrospect. I don't think you can really plan for that, because
No.
great sessions, they might be planned, they might be unplanned, but it takes a lot of things all kind of clicking together to make it really great. And some of that comes from the players, not the GM.
Bar brawls are quite good though.
Bar brawls.
Well, yeah, as an encounter, because there's that sort of chaos in there.
What, of NPCs and stuff?
Well, first of all, there's there's the ranting regular. There's the tension of, oh, is it gonna spill into it, get worse? If it does, do the players get involved? Do they see somebody suddenly leave? And there's all kinds of opportunities for story arcs.
Let's see the next question. Ronnie says, how do you guys feel on this? Well, I think we actually kind of answered that.
Yeah, we did.
Just now. But for me, I think I don't necessarily think, if everyone said at the start of the campaign or something, right, let's do a non-combat thing. I remember once playing this convention game where it was D&D, and I think I was playing a dark elf, and I decided to kill this character, this not player character, like NPC, this monster. And somebody else in the game turned to me and said, oh, so you're just going to kill them? Just like that, and expect no repercussion? And it was kind of like...
Well, you were a dark elf.
Well, yes, but it was kind of like my first realisation that there was other ways to play role-playing games. This is going back some years now. Up until then, to me, D&D was a variant of a dungeon bash. Adventures were basically, you had monsters which you killed, and then there were NPCs which you talked to. And I just identified this thing as monster, kill it, move on to next encounter, and I was just seeing it as an encounter. And then I kind of had this clash of cultures as I, for the first time, sort of met players who didn't see, go into an encounter and think that's a monster.
That's XP.
Yeah, they sort of saw this is a creature of race orc or something. I don't actually remember what it was now. I mean, this is several years ago. For me, it was kind of this, okay, that's interesting. And I decided after the game I wanted to explore this sort of way of role-playing and just sort of see where it led. And it kind of started me on this sort of path towards improving my game and everything else. So I don't think there's anything wrong in saying, we want to play this game without combat. But at the same time, players may have an expectation. Like, you're playing D&D, they might expect combat. And so I think you have to have everyone on board for the direction a campaign goes in. Otherwise it will just fizzle out.
But also pacing is important too. So, say even if they're not expecting it, then if it feels right to have an encounter with combat, then don't be afraid to put it in. As long as there's a reason for doing so.
Yeah, well, quite often combat is initiated by players as well, and you can't necessarily stop it.
True, but then there are other instances. So, like, for example, in my last Cthulhu game, where those guys, I don't know if you remember, who got out of the cars to confront you, by that point, they basically saw you as hostile.
Yeah, but it does very much depend on the system as well. For example, the reason I was making that point about D&D and player expectation is it might be necessary to choose a different system to get different results.
Yes.
Because that changes player expectations, and Cthulhu is a great one in that an encounter in Cthulhu does not normally involve combat.
No.
And I think that's
maybe
why
a little
it's
bit
quite popular.
Yeah, maybe a bit different for Pulp Cthulhu now, because that's more kind of action Indiana Jonesy type thing. But yeah, absolutely. I don't tend to do much combat. It's more some crazy giant weather front.
that was a great session. One of the things I like about my own AFA system is that it took players who just were very much tactical combat approaching players, and it very quickly taught them that if you're going to do that, you must have a shield, and B, don't do it. So it might be necessary to change the tools. Is the point I was making. Right. Lord Morbius says the Firkin is an alien that just happens to look like a cat, but when threatened, opened its mouth and sprouts Cthulhu-like tentacles that can drag up a dozen bad guys into its maw. I don't think Medusa has Cthulhu tentacles in her mouth.
I haven't seen any.
No, but she does occasionally make the most horrendous odours.
Oh God. Yep.
Never had a cat that farts before. Just occasionally. Any big industry names lined up for Complus interviews yet? Big names. Well, I think it's fair to say that there's a good chance some big names will be back. We haven't confirmed any on the line yet.
We have. Ian Livingstone.
Yes, he said he would, but we haven't actually lined anything up or filmed anything for definite.
No, we haven't. A Dragon Meet, it was more sort of smaller businesses.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, obviously, if I bump into Kit, I'll try and get an interview from Reaper. I'm trying to think. I don't. Depends what you mean by big. Because there are some really fantastic people, but not necessarily the largest companies that we definitely have on board. In terms of interviews, I'm just trying to think who we got filmed. But the thing is, the last lot of Complus 2 interviews.
The thing is that interviews, again, because it's something that you kind of work on throughout the year, as it were. Interviews are kind of one of the last things that we do. So we sort of talk to the sponsor, we finalise the prizes and get all that arranged. And then if they have the time to do an interview, then that's when we arrange it. So at the minute, we've not got many planned. But
we start filming them really in around June time. End of May, start of June. We do have about half dozen filmed. Yes. But I'm struggling to even remember who, because that was so many months ago. Don't remember.
We got
Jonathan Green.
Jonathan Green,
author. David Cartwright.
Yes, who's another author. We've got
what's the guy's name from Red Scar?
It's on the tip of my tongue, but I also don't want to get it wrong. But he's a nice guy.
That lady from World Anvil.
Yes, we've got
Janet, I think.
Stop digging a hole. We have got World Anvil on board, which is amazing. She's the Queen of Bananas. I remember that. On her profile on the website, it says she's the Queen of Bananas.
Didn't know that.
So yes, we have the Queen of Bananas herself interviewing, which is great. We've got the Black Hack as well on board.
No interview with those.
Yes, that's right. No, I couldn't remember if we'd filmed them or not.
No. Did get Cthulhu Hack interview though.
Yes, we did.
I can't remember his name. We got the guys with the player mats, the fold flat.
Loki battle mats.
Loki battle mats. That was amazing. That thing. So basic, and the cheeky thing is, I don't think it was Loki battle mats. Somebody did a Kickstarter recently of a similar project, which was just it was A3 total size lay flat battle maps, 30 pieces of art. And it looked great and everything, but the Loki battle mat guys had these A3 each side ones.
It's huge, insane,
amazing product. I was actually tempted to buy one.
And those massive roll ones
sold
as
out.
well.
Yeah, they do the roll mats as well.
But they're huge. They're like sort of this long.
Yeah, so they're on board. But I can't remember the guy's name. I'm pretty sure the Atlantis miniature guy is called Dan.
Rings a bell.
I think, yeah. So we got interview with him in the cast.
We need to arrange one with Wisdom Save Media.
We do indeed. We haven't got that in the can.
They're an exciting new company.
Mm.
I like their stuff.
Alright, let's see what the next
They do stuff on Taverns.
If the viewers want to donate to either the charity directly or to your Patreon to help with shipping prizes, how do they go about it?
Well.
Okay, so if you want to donate to the Butterfly Project, and just on the topic of that, as I mentioned earlier, they are trying to raise the money to hold a board game convention at the moment. If you go to conplus.live, that's CONPLUS.live, you can do a donation on our website. That is the easiest way to donate to them. Alternatively, you can go to their GoFundMe and go through the pain of that site.
Do you need some water? You sound like you.
Yeah, but it's fine. Carry on.
Okay. And then for Patreon, you go to our very own Patreon page, so patreon.com/Pear of Geeks, and you can join one of our many, many tiers.
We have one tier.
Oh yes, we only have one. I'm getting mixed up with the goals. We have many goals.
I've deleted most of them now.
Have you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. We did do an early bird.
Yes.
One for $3 and then a fruit bowl for $5. And I think one of our original early birds actually left us. There might be some slots.
So if you're quick, you can get them for a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
And we do sort of behind the scenes stuff and little updates.
Yeah, we're not the most active Patreoners,
no.
to be honest.
And well, one thing we did, which I want to do again, is we showed the interviews.
Yes.
Early.
You do get stuff though, whilst we're not often, what we do is good, I think.
Yeah, quality, not quantity.
You will see Prize Fighter before anyone else on Patreon. You can see a screenshot at the moment if you're on a Patreon. It's not the best screenshot. I'm introducing it slowly. And you do often get to see all the Complus interviews before they air and stuff. So it's we put news in there sometimes. We generally update it every few weeks. I think with something. Please help.
Do.
Jersey.
Hi, Jose.
Hi. Feel free to ask questions about role-playing games and stuff. That's what we're talking about today, and of course the Complus Charity Convention.
Oh, from Brazil.
Cool. Now, I understand people from Brazil call a tuxedo a smoking.
A smoking?
A smoking.
Huh? Really?
Yeah, because it hails from smoking jackets.
Ah.
Right. Now, with that in mind, does that mean when you see a sign that says no smoking, do you just take off your tuxedo?
Well, that would be quite simple.
Mm.
As long as you remember to take your tuxedo with you.
Yeah.
Even if it's really hot.
And we're all caught up on the chat. So, that brings us to our next topic.
Okay, so what topic have you brought?
Dwarven sex.
Okay, we are actually talking about that.
Well, I don't mean it literally. No, I wanted to do a little bit of world building with dwarves. Don't look so worried. It's okay. It's okay. We're not going to talk about favoured positions and things. No, I've made this comment to a number of people. Talk about dwarves and beards, right? And it all kind of stems from a joke Tolkien wrote in Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
You know, it's in the beards. You know, people often say that there are no dwarven women. It's in the beards. You know, that whole line.
Well, no, the first point was that Gimli thought that dwarf women had beards just like dwarf men, so it's hard to tell them apart. But then there's also the possibility that there actually aren't any dwarf women and the dwarf men just spring out of holes in the ground.
Yes. I like the idea of dwarven women having beards.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's great. But I'm to the point where in some of my settings, I take this a little bit further. And because the dwarves need to know, right, in order to mate.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can do the whole joke,
Or maybe they just don't really mind.
and it just comes up with an awkward conversation every now and then. You spend 30 years courting someone and then find out that they're the same gender before deciding, when you're going to have children. It's like, oh no. I thought, no, maybe dwarven culture has figured out how to tell the sexes apart, and it is in the beards.
Beads?
It's the beads. So dwarves wear ancestral beads in one of my settings, and the men have it on the right, the women have it on the left. Actually, it might be the other way around, I forget. So I basically have dwarven women have the beads on the right, and each bead represents something, an ancestor, or their trade and things like that. And they might have done 5 years as a blacksmith. They get a 5-year blacksmith ring. 5 years working in the mines, get a mine ring.
So it's basically like a Facebook account.
Yes, their beard beads are their profile timeline, right? And then the men wear them on the other side, and that's how the dwarves know. And yes, the secret is in the beards. But of course, everyone thinks there's no dwarven women because they never see a dwarf without a beard. So I quite like that. And then I took it a step further in my own mind, and I've never actually run this in a game, but the reason dwarves don't procreate that often is because the ritual of making love involves removal of the beards, and it takes weeks to put them back in again, and then everyone will know what we've done. The beads, yes. What did I say?
You said beards.
Well, the beads in the beards.
But you said removal of the beards, which...
Well, it could be that's a more hardcore form.
Let's not go there.
So yeah, I thought that would be like a cool little twist on the whole bead thing.
Or they could braid it differently.
Yeah, who knows where involved appendages are. So maybe de-beading is part of the whole thing. And then I actually thought, well, what if there is this kind of like sort of festival, like sort of every sort of 10-20 years in Dwarven culture. Maybe the Dwarven year calendar is different, and it's like 10 years long, and then on the 10th year there is a festival where all dwarves are shaven, and that's when they all go, finally. So I'm tempted to use that in the game soon. I just thought it was a different because the thing is, different races, I think so often dwarves and elves are really just reskinned aspects of humanity.
Yeah, they are, absolutely.
They're not really different, and they need to be different. They need to feel a little alien. I think otherwise they're just, well, okay, you're called a dwarf, but basically you're just a short fat guy. And you're called an elf, but basically you're just a tall, skinny guy.
Yeah, a tall, skinny, obnoxious, androgynous-looking guy.
Or gal.
Or girl.
But I like that little bit of otherworldliness about other races, and to have that in my games, because I think it just helps make them feel more like they're not human. And I think that's often something that's missing from player characters, especially that are elves or half elves or whatever, is they don't have that otherworldly feeling that they are different.
That's why I usually don't play them, actually, because they're not otherworldly enough for me. So I'm like, well, I might as well just play human or something close to it.
I want my elves and my dwarves to feel like a clash of cultures when they come together.
I do like the Dragonborn. Like, they've done more, I think, with that. And also, just in terms of immediate looks, it's like, oh, you're red, and you can breathe fire and stuff.
Yeah, but,
or tieflings, for example.
I think a lot of players still look at something like a Dragonborn and just think of it as, this is a mechanical thing I can do. This is another action that's available to me, a bit like class selection. And that's why I like to these things that are just different but more importantly clash. I love the idea of dwarven women having beards on the other side,
Mm.
and dwarven mating being this sort of 10-year thing that they all kind of wait for, and then it's like, oh, Beardenalia is coming up, and like the dwarves disappear from the adventuring parties and the courts, and Beardenalia. What? I just made it up.
But well, obviously it's called Beardmas.
Beardmas.
Yeah, Beardmas.
But so what a mass of beards.
Yes.
And you get this big monster in the Underdark full of dwarf. It's just a big dwarf beard pile.
Yes. Apparently Pratchett did the whole gender thing for dwarves superbly.
I do remember. Was it? I'm trying to think of which book. Was it Guards where you had the female dwarf that discovered lipstick?
I have not read much Terry Pratchett, so I'm not the best person to ask.
They were all men, even the women, and their different genders were only important during reproduction. Yep. But all dwarves were given male names, and only the male pronoun was used until Cheryl Littlebottom started a revolution by wearing a skirt. Yes, sorry, Cheery. I'm a long way from the screen. Yes, that was the dwarf I was thinking of. She was the one that discovered lipstick. Oh no, she starts wearing it midway through, and somebody says, "Are you wearing lipstick?" And it turned out she had. So yeah, that's my thought, because I kind of want to do something similar with elves. I think I'm trying to remember which system it was, and I know which system it was. Middle Earth Roleplay, I think it was. Was it Merp? Which was the system that had elves as vegetables? They were literal vegetables in the game.
What?
Yeah.
Elves as vegetables?
It was one of the old school systems. Elves weren't animals, they were plant.
I am not familiar with this monstrosity.
You say monstrosity. I think it's fantastic, and I kind of want to bring it back. It was one of the old school games. I cannot remember which one.
So basically, elves were plant people.
Elves were plants in this game, yeah, in this setting.
Well, actually, in a way, no.
The things that affected mammals didn't work.
The more I think about it, the more that actually does make some sense.
I mean, they were humanoid and stuff. It wasn't like elves had been reskinned as plants.
Well, no.
It was that they were still elves. It's just that the author, I guess, had wanted to achieve the same thing. They wanted to make elves feel like a clash of cultures when they came together. So they had this very different outlook as being essentially plants. And I never actually read the book myself. I played the game a few times with somebody else GMing who had the book, hence I'm struggling to remember which system that was. Help me out here, someone. Rings a bell but can't place it. Wasn't Merp? No, because of course Merp is based on Middle Earth. Might have been its big brother Rolemaster. I'm trying to think if it was Rolemaster though. Could have been.
Ooh.
Could have been.
I
Not
don't
sure.
know.
It's all too long ago. I've gotten a bit old.
You make me feel very young.
Oh.
That killed the conversation.
Yeah, but no, that was my topic for the for the day. My little rant about species not being different enough.
Cultures.
Yeah. I want cultures to clash, to feel different.
Yes, I agree. And we haven't got any more questions, so
yeah, I think we've all caught up, which
Yes.
means I can go and have a cigarette. Yay!
Okay.
So thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed our informal.
When are we going to stream next week?
I don't know.
We were preliminary thinking Thursdays.
I don't Friday next week. I think we have something on, don't we?
RuneQuest, Glorantha Plant Elves. Oh,
thank you.
I know RuneQuest.
Yes.
Can you see make RuneQuest?
Well, it was published by. I've got it up here somewhere. Second edition. Because
It's there. Well, it is now, but Games Workshop.
Yeah, this was a GW one. This one. But maybe I do have the book.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd edition.
Oh, it is Chaosium still.
Yeah, Chaosium, AH Games of Strategy, and Games Workshop. I think the IP was originally Games Workshop, if I recall. Sandy Peterson is definitely Chaosium. I don't know the other names.
Found a Cthulhu.
Yeah. So yeah.
Hello, kitty.
There you go. Thank you for that, RLL.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, we'll see you possibly Thursday.
Well, it definitely won't be Friday next week.
No, it won't.
Because we've got other things on. So yeah, I'm thinking probably Thursday. Could be Wednesday. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
We will. The most important thing for us is to get streaming every week again. And if we don't stream, do a fully produced video. That we'll still do them. But I think we just need to get back in the routine of things and
doing
get
stuff.
ourselves going again. Because Complus kind of killed us last year with the channel and producing new content.
Yes.
We put so much work into it that we didn't put work into the channel. But we're going to get back into the rhythm of making videos again. Mm-hmm. And if we achieve and succeed at that, then we can look at doing it on a fixed day.
Yes.
All right. So bear with us. We're relearning how to walk.
Yes.
All right. So thank you for watching, everyone.
Okay.
I hope you've had a good time, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Do I click?
I don't know where you click because it's a new Google Studio thing. It just stops. I don't know.